to play with strings again. Just taking a look at the statements we've been learning about, doing a little problem solving, putting them together in different ways to see what we can accomplish. So on screen, I've got the simple for loop that's printing one letter at a time that we took a look at in an earlier video. I've renamed the definition to stretch, and I'll explain why. The intent of this original function was to give it a string, and it would print vertically one character on each row. So again, let's run what we have so we can see our beginning point. I'm just going to use my name again as an example. And so it prints vertically DAVID. So the first change we want to make to this program is instead of printing it vertically, let's print it horizontally. But let's put a space between each letter. So it'll be D space, A space, V space, I space, D space. So what change would we need to make to that? Well, we're still going to give it a string as input. So we still have string as a parameter. We still need to go through that string one letter at a time, need to iterate it through one character at a time. So the 4-letter in string is still good. But let's see, if we want a space after each one, can we do something like plus quote space quote? That would print the character and then print a space after it. Is that going to do what we need? Let's test it. So I'll load the program, I'll run it, and no, it is giving us an error saying that on line 3 we have an unsupported operand. Well, the problem is I've added that plus quote space quote outside the parenthesis. So that needs to be inside the parenthesis of the print. So let's change that and try again. And no, it gave us the same visual output. Although there is actually a space after each letter, it's not giving it all on one line like we're wanting. So we're not going to be able to print each time through the loop like we're doing to begin with. So what we'll need to do is do something inside the loop and move this print statement outside the loop. We don't want to print the output until the loop has finished. But if we're not going to print until we're done, we need to create a new variable to accumulate the data in as we go through the loop each time. So I'm going to come up here before the for statement and add a new line. And let's create a new variable here. Let's say new string. And we'll start the new string with a value of nothing, an empty string, by simply typing quote quote. If I put quote space quote, it's not an empty string, it's a string with a space in it. But if I put quote quote, that's considered an empty string. So we're going to start or initialize our new string variable as an empty string. And inside the loop then, we need to, each time through the loop, add to that new string. So when the loop finishes, we'll have all of the characters with spaces. So I'm going to start out new string equal, let's put new string again, plus, so I want to take what was there already, add the letter, and then I want to add a space. So now I'm going to put quote space quote to get the actual space. So we're taking the current value of new string, adding one letter that we got from our for statement, and then adding a space. And so the first time through the loop, if we give it David, it's going to take an empty string, that's going to be the first value, add the letter D, and add a space, and put that answer back into new string. So at the end of the for loop, the first time, new string is going to have a value of capital D space. And when it comes around the loop for the second time, and it's working with the letter A, it's going to have DA or D space, and it's going to add the A space. And continue to do that all the way through the loop until it runs out of characters in the string. And then after it's finished the loop, we don't want to print letter plus string. We want to print our new string. So we think we might have what we need. Let's try running it and see what we get. Sure enough, D space, A space, V space, I space, D, and you'll just have to trust me that there's a space after. Okay, so far so good. Let's play with this and do one more thing. Let's imagine that instead of taking the original string and putting spaces between it, we still want to do that, but we want to print the characters in reverse order. So instead of D-A-V-I-D, I want to print D-I-V-A-D. Just spin them around backwards, but still put the spaces in. So what are we going to need to do there? Well, as you're starting to learn this in the semester, a lot of computer programming is really just problem solving. It's how can you solve the problem as a human? If you can't figure that out, you're going to have a hard time figuring out how to tell the computer to solve the problem. You have to figure out the solution yourself first, and then translate your human solution into code so the computer can do it. So maybe an obvious one is, well, if I just want to switch things around, maybe I can take this plus letter and put it at the end here. Will that do what we need? Well, let's try it. No, it still has the David going forward. The difference is, and it's hard to see, but all we really did was move where the space was. Our original code had our letter followed by a space, and now this new version is the space followed by the letter. So that didn't reverse the name, it just changed the position of where the space is. Instead of the space being at the end, it's now at the beginning. So what do we need to do to actually reverse things? Well, let's look at this line here, line 4. We're saying to take the current value of new string, that's whatever we've accumulated up to this point, add a space, and then add the new letter. But if we're wanting to reverse it, we don't want to put the new letter at the end of our accumulating string. We actually want to put it at the beginning, and each time through the loop, put the new one at the beginning and keep pushing the original ones towards the end. So what if we take this and get rid of the plus sign here at the beginning, add the plus at the end, and then add new string. So we're saying add a space, a letter, and take that and then add whatever was in new string to begin with. And that whole answer is going to be placed back into new string. Let's try running it and see if we get what we want. Sure enough, there's the capital D at the end, A-V-I-D going backwards. Still has the spaces. That's what we were hoping for. So if that didn't quite make sense to you, what might be interesting for you to do is to grab a piece of paper and a pencil and actually work through it step by step on paper, doing exactly what the steps were saying to do, and see if that helps. If you still have questions, reach out to me. I will be glad to help. We'll see you in class.